Libertarians select gay, Antifa-loving, Trump-hating, vaccine mandate-supporting, open borders enthusiast as their presidential candidate. Oliver, who describes himself as armed and gay, has a history of taking radically left-wing positions. And now, this is the official nominee. But as most of you know, Donald Trump spoke to the Libertarian Convention and called on them to nominate him. Despite the fact that he didn't even file the paperwork to get nominated, I don't think they ever had any real intention of doing so. I wonder what their real goal was with appearing there, I guess. But in the end, let me show you the results. Many people are saying that Donald Trump is the effective winner. With the nomination of Chase Oliver, who is pro-Antifa, who is far leftist, they call him a communist. They say he's for open borders. They call him a left communist, or I'm sorry, a left libertarian, which basically is the like libertarian communist, whatever that means, or what is it, libertarian socialist, meaning he agrees with all of these cultural issues, ultimately wants these things, but approaches it from a no government perspective. The corporations can stomp all over you, but not the government, not the government. First, we're going to jump over to, who do we got here? We got Dave Smith, who says, ironically, Chase winning is the best outcome for Trump this weekend, much better than a standing ovation at his speech. We then have Austin Peterson, who posted a picture of Lois Griffin from Family Guy staring at a pill bottle, which reads Trump 2024 and Ron Paul Libertarians over Lois Griffin. It's a great meme. And then we have, what do we have here? Austin Peterson again saying, I'm a Vivek Ramaswamy Republican. And then, of course, Clint Russell. He's been on the show several times, and he ran for the vice presidential slot. That's how they do it for the Libertarians. He says, I just want to make this very clear. Chase Oliver does not represent most Libertarians, and very few of us will be supporting him come November. I, for one, will not be. You know, I tweeted after this, our secret plan to get Clint to vote for Trump is working perfectly. And he said something to the effect of like, damn it, you know. So here we go. And we have this. Top libertarian endorses Trump after party nominates, quote, gay race communist for president. He said in this tweet, yesterday I held up a sign calling Donald Trump supporters socialists. Tonight, the Libertarian Party nominated a gay race communist for president. With those choices, I'm standing with Donald Trump. So I'll just show you a quick little bit about this guy. They show he's got a tweet here saying, don't unify with Trump, supporting Antifa New Hampshire. He's got, what is this one? Supporting Antifa backstop Cop City, calling himself Antifa, saying you don't have to be pro-communist to be Antifa, which he apparently aligns with. He's got ending cash bail.
You don't have to be pro-communist, but you're just helping them.
Yeah, he supports drag queens, story hours for kids, and children going to drag events. He supports transgender medical treatments for children, not surgery though, but just the drugs. He's pro-vaccine mandate. He is he's pro-open borders. Here's a post where he's saying he's open for open borders. So this basically, long story short, he's basically the antithesis of the Ron Paul Libertarians and the Mises Caucus. So basically, the majority of the Libertarian Party, which has controlling voting powers, probably going to vote for Donald Trump, and this could actually siphon votes away from Joe Biden. Showing, I mean, this is your alternative. If you're a progressive, you're not voting for Joe Biden. This guy is also very anti-war, and I can respect a lot of his positions. But he's very much said he will end the genocide in Gaza, in Palestine. So you're likely going to get many progressives voting for him and not Joe Biden, helping Donald Trump, and then Mises Caucus, Ron Paul Libertarians defecting and voting for Donald Trump.
If I understand correctly, he was pro-ACA as well.
Pro Obamacare?
Yeah, Obamacare, yeah.
So currently, a lot of his positions don't align with where he was like a year or two ago. And so everyone's just calling him a flip-flopper because I think he claims to oppose it now. But I want to give you guys this. This one's important. Chase Oliver tweeted, give me autonomy and property rights. Someone said, give me convenience or give me death. He says, give me autonomy and property rights, you mean. A business can decide to require workers to be vaccinated or limit customers to those with a vaccine. But no, government shouldn't make those decisions. This will hurt already struggling small businesses. Central planning sucks. Okay, saying that businesses can mandate vaccines is a pro-vaccine mandate position. What we're getting from a lot of these libertarian types, I'm not sure if Hannah Cox is she says she's a rabid capitalist, but she says this is not a pro-vaccine mandate stance. He explicitly says he's against government mandates. His position is that a business can determine who they want on their property. Whether that be a vaccine requirement or other criteria, is a pro-property rights and pro-capitalism stance. It's actually the correct position. Except his positions are also the unabated monopolistic capitalist system, which would allow corporations, and I think this is actually part of his platform, a single monopoly would be unabated by the government. I'm pretty sure that's his position. And that would mean that if there's one or let's say there's 4 insurance companies and the insurance companies all decide anyone who's insured by them has to have mandates, then every business has to have mandates. And then you, the workers, and everyone in society has to have mandates. And the important thing to understand is the vaccine mandates were not government. When the lockdowns and the mandates happened, it was private businesses deciding it's what they wanted. And that is, my friends, the Libertarian Party's pro-vaccine mandate candidate. So anyway, rant over. But now you understand who this guy is and why this is going to be a big boost for Donald Trump and why he has effectively won the Libertarian Party nomination.
I mean, the best part of the speech, Trump's speech at the Libertarian convention to me was when he said, Libertarians, at their own convention, Libertarians, nominate me for president or give me your votes. And it's like the left wing part of that party was like, absolutely, we will give you our votes. I mean, it is surprising to me. And again, I'm more exposed to the Mises Caucus and everything like that they would elect this person. I saw someone saying like, oh, well, you know, our voting process took forever. He was elected really late at night. Some delegates had to go. But it really seems like Donald Trump came out on top and got what he wanted here. I mean, Phil was standing next to me. I couldn't have laughed harder when Trump suddenly said, Libertarians nominate me for president. It seems like they are helping him in their campaign to victory, even if they didn't actually nominate him.
Well, it was a brilliant move because most libertarians are not actually card-carrying members of the Libertarian Party. I mean,
Thank
they've
God.
had a purge over the years of right-leaning, paleo-libertarian, Ron Paul types. They've self-purged them. So really, when President Trump is speaking at their convention, he's addressing, you know, millions of other libertarian-minded people who may not come out and vote. Certainly, if they do come out and vote, maybe they're not traditional Republican or conservative or Democrat voters. So he's winning over far more people than are actually Libertarian Party members. And listen, I can understand this Chase guy. He's going to give the argument, oh, well, you know, a monopoly wouldn't exist without, you know, government involvement. He's going to give these extremely, you know, nuanced arguments and the philosophy of it and everything being equal in this kind of equilibrium world that doesn't actually exist. But that's the problem with these libertarians. They don't live in reality. So they're going to make these arguments, these lofty arguments about government involvement, the role of the state, et cetera, but they're not actually looking at the reality on the ground. They're not actually looking at real people's problems, what's actually happening.
Chase is hung up on like libertarian ideology, right? Like, because the fundamental point that he's making is it's fine if it's not the government because the government has the monopoly on violence. That's libertarianism 101. When libertarianism 101, like this is probably a similar argument to what Dave Smith would make, right? And I agree with Dave Smith on most things, but I don't think that America's ready or is in a libertarian mood nowadays. So maybe that might be his position, but I don't know that he should be focusing on it. I don't think that the libertarians that are going to vote for Donald Trump or that would have voted for like Dave Smith, like they would have stayed had they selected a better candidate. So the fact that people are going to leave the Libertarian Party is because of who the Libertarians selected. They weren't going to have, if Dave Smith had decided to run, there still would probably have been a majority of the left-leaning Libertarians that would have voted for him, though there are some that would have said that he's beyond the pale. But still, the idea that it's a big thing from the Libertarians or for the Libertarians, they're just going to vote for Trump. The right-leaning ones are all going to vote for Trump. So it does end up with Trump being the guy that makes out.
Maybe that was the secret plan all along.
I don't think there was any insight. I don't think it was a secret plan, though.
I'm kidding.
Oh, well, okay.
I'm saying that the idea that, look, if Dave Smith won, he'd pull votes from Trump. He'd pull a lot of the more right-leaning, sound borders, we love America people, but who want to see an alternative to the two-party system, who want to see wars ended and don't believe Trump is the guy. A lot of these libertarians, it's actually really fascinating to me. When I'm talking to these guys at the convention, like, you really trust Donald Trump will do the things he says? And I was like, yes.
He's transactional. He's a transactional politician. And they don't get that. It's like old school politicking. I will give you something in exchange for your vote. And people are like aghast at it. It's like, oh, I'll throw a libertarian on the cabinet. And they're like, oh, I can't believe he'll say that. That's so, crass.
Yeah, Trump said he'd put a libertarian in the cabinet. He said he's going to commute Ross Ulbricht's sentence. Right. And I get these people saying, you really think he'll commute Ross Ulbricht's sentence? And I was like, what's his cost?
Right.
Yeah,
no one cares.
There's no cost. There's zero cost. And the thing is, like, the big thing that is on the American people's mind right now is the economy, and consequently, because of that, immigration is a big contributor to the reasons that they think of the economy. With Chase's position as open borders, he's not making any friends at all. So, I mean, I don't see, and also there's another thing, the LGBT, the pro-LGBT stance, that's really alienating a lot of people. There are a lot of women that look at the LGBT stuff and they say, this is totally different than I thought because of all the women being excluded, like the women exclusive places that are no longer exclusively women. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that isn't really being talked about a lot. I think there's a lot of people that feel it, but nobody's really talking about it because they're afraid they're going to offend someone. So I think that it's easy to say the economy, and that is probably some people are using that as in place of the border, but it's hard to talk about the LGBT stuff and say you're against trans women being in women's spaces, you know.
Gallup has, for the single most important issue among voters, in their latest polling, 27% say immigration. The economy in general nets only 17%. Economic problems are 36% and non-economic problems are 74%. I don't think those numbers matter. Let's talk about the single most important issue. The economy in general, it ain't it. And that's surprising because normally we say it's the economy, stupid. Immigration, 27%, and government poor leadership, 18%. But let's take a look at that beautiful immigration number. People are wondering why it is there are illegal immigrants in tents under their bridges in their cities. We drove into D.C. for this. It's remarkable what you're seeing. They're wondering why this stuff is happening, why there is this mass influx of people, why private jets are being chartered, and the Libertarian Party says, got an idea? Let's pick the open borders guy. And now he claims he's not for open borders, but then they basically called him out on stage. He says he's for an Ellis Island style approach where people can walk up to a port of entry and say, I'm here for this, and they can rubber stamp him and send them on their way.
Which is so funny because we had that Ellis Island style approach when we didn't have a welfare state, which is usually the sensible libertarian argument against open borders to say, oh, I would want that, but we need to get rid of welfare and the big government and all this other stuff first. He's not even saying that. He's just saying open the borders, keeping everything as is. It just goes to show it's not a serious political or electoral position. It's just pandering to this sort of, who can be more, philosophically sound in their positions on libertarianism rather than actually provide a platform for people that have libertarian minded goals and are actually looking to effectuate it in some capacity, which he wouldn't be doing. President Trump offered a transactional approach that he would advance some issues that libertarians would hold dear, and some of them are turning away from it. Some of them will embrace it, hopefully.
I think the Mises Caucus, to whatever extent they can, should just become a caucus in the Republican Party at this point.
They were. I mean, the Liberty Caucus with Rand and Ron, I mean, those guys are all Mises guys, through and through.
Right.
Thomas Massey.
Add this whole voting bloc and all of its supporters to those ranks, and then try and influence the GOP with more bolstering of the Liberty Caucus.
They've had tons of success on that. At the local level, they've elected a lot of these, Ron Paul-style Liberty candidates across the country. I mean, I remember I was a Ron Paul guy, going back to 2014, and I know a lot of people that grew up in that movement. They've moved away from the LP and the Lawbergs and the left-leaning libertarians. That's really what they are. They've become a joke, and they act like because they have their political party that it makes them serious political operators, that they're thinking electorally, they're thinking strategically. They're actually the worst of them all.
No, they do not act like that or
Exactly.
think that at all. They really don't. There's the left-leaning ones. They are there to throw a wrench in the works of government. Like,
I remember some of them always took themselves seriously. There's certainly a faction there that takes themselves a little seriously.
not the ones that are getting naked on stage.
Well, those guys are another story. But
or the famous
ones that
moment in 2016 where the guy said no to having a driver's license. That video is going viral like crazy.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, there is a thing about libertarians that they always engage in purity contests.
Right.
And it boils down to who is the most anarchist at the end of the day. And you can't work in Washington and be working against Washington.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really hard to get this through to people that the way that you get any kind of legislation, even legislation that abolishes things, you still have to work with people. If you want to cut funding, you have to find people to work with. So just to be like, oh, well, we're going to be anti-government and anti-Washington, as much as I love the idea, like, the only option is burn it down. The only option is to behave in a way that makes you unfit for government. Because if you're fit for government and you're working to try to do things with government, then you're just a Cato libertarian and they call you a Republican.
Yeah, it seems like the Libertarian Party had to decide basically on like what its objectives were, and the party itself is always divided, which I find fascinating, right? Like the open borders issues for Libertarian predates Trump. It's been around for a long time. But with this particular election cycle, they had this moment where they could say, are we going to try and get some wins, a foot in the door, and try to really steer and influence conservative policy or just generally policy in America? Or do we believe that we are opposed to the Republican candidate so fundamentally that we don't want to have any kind of allegiance with it? And it seems like they are electing to distance themselves from Trump and therefore further divide the party, which seems like it would impede progress for their aims in the future. Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe and we'll see you all there.